Okay, so we start with the orders sheet in Superstore data. Okay. So first topic is to see what are the different aggregation formulas that are available. We have so far used sum as the aggregation default most of the times. At one time we talked about average. So now let's look at what other options are available for us. Okay, so we'll start with measure names into rows and measure values into label. Okay. So now we have sum of each of the measure fields that are available in there. Okay. So now we can control which ones we want, which ones we don't want by simply using a filter and then filtering out stuff that we don't want. Say we don't want, let's assume that we want to look at only sales. Okay. So we have the sum of sales. Now what other options we have for sales? Now right click sales and drag and drop it over here. Okay. So now we can select from this list, and this list is not a complete list. Okay, so select AVG, so you get the average sales. Right click, drag and drop, see median, you get median sales. Again right click, drag and drop. Let's say if you select C and T, which is count, so how many sales values are there, which is not very useful for us. Count of sales is meaningless. So we can change that if you click this down triangle, and you can change it to something else. So here you get one more possible aggregation, and that is percentile. Now you can choose from this list of percentiles. So for a continuous variable like a sales measure, percentile would be useful. What is the 5th percentile? What is the 95th percentile of sales? So if you select 5, that will give you the percentile, 5th percentile of sales. Now again, drag and drop and select one of the measures from here and then change it to percentile. So 50th percentile is your median, so we don't really need it. So 90th percentile, and so on. And of course we have for standard deviation and variance, we have 4 possibilities: sample standard deviation and population standard deviation. Sample variance and population variance. Yeah, attribute, we'll talk about attribute a little later. Now the count and count D is count distinct. They make sense for dimensions. Like for example, say city. If you bring in city and select count distinct, then that will tell us how many distinct cities are there in the data. Similarly, if you have order ID and select count distinct, so that will tell us how many distinct orders are there. Okay. So let's do order ID, simply count. So that gives you the entire data set, because you're just simply counting how many observations are there in the order ID column. So count and count distinct. Count distinct would be removes all the duplicates and gives you only the distinct part. So these are the possible aggregations that you can select from.